to see these ones at a station. All right, next semester, next week.
No.
So you got 2 stations that would have models on it. This is one of them, and that's the other one. Okay. So at some point you want to review the other one also. So, either one of these is about the same thing. You got your renal artery here, and then it breaks up into these segmental arteries. And then when you get to where the pyramids are, and between the pyramids, you would have your renal columns or medullary columns. That's where you would have the interlobar arteries, and then they round off at the bases of the pyramids as arcuate. So these are the arcuate, and then from the arcuate you send up the cortico-radiate arteries, and from those you get the afferent arteriole. Now we come here. This is afferent arteriole. You can always tell afferent from the efferent. Afferent's always the bigger one. Okay.
But it also has this, whatever that is. Whoa.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
And then from here it turns into this tuft of capillaries. These would be the glomerular capillaries. Glomerular capillaries. Okay. And then this is where the blood would be filtered, and then the rest of the blood is going to be exiting by the efferent arteriole. And efferent arteriole can become peritubular capillaries if they go around the proximal and distal convoluted tubules. Or if they wrapped around the nephron loop, they would be vasa recta. But they will all find their way back to the cortico-radiate vein, arcuate vein, interlobar vein, and renal vein. All right? So that's how blood flows through here. And then, coming back to this, the tuft of capillaries during development, when they pushed in here, they picked up on this lining of the glomerular capsule. And the material here is simple squamous epithelium, so you have these simple squamous cells that reflected back over the capillaries. So those would be the podocytes. Okay, so these are supposed to be the podocytes, and that creates a potential space around, and that would be the capsular space. So the filtrate is out here now, and it's going to head into the proximal convoluted tubule. That's the thickest part of the nephron. On here, it's the the yellow. Okay. No, this yellow. All right. So this part, and then you get to the descending limb. Descending limb is shown as white on here, and the descending limb would be the thinnest part because that one comes back to being almost simple squamous. And then the ascending limb thickens again. That's cuboidal, all the way to the distal convoluted tubules. So these are the distal, and the distal convoluted tubules would link up with the collecting ducts. Okay, so what you have in here would be all these collecting tubules or collecting ducts converging onto the tips of these pyramids. Those would be the renal papillae. And when you see dots at the tips of these, those would then be referred to as papillary ducts, right there. Okay. So, and then from there, you go into the single funnel that's wrapped around each one of these pyramids. Those would be the minor calyx, and then several of them would converge into a larger one that would be the major, and then everything goes to the pelvis of the ureter. Okay, so that's ureter. Now, on here, everything is color-coded. You have proximal convoluted tubule here, so these are also proximal convoluted tubules. These represent distal convoluted tubules, and this is part of the juxtaglomerular apparatus. This row, these are the macular denser cells. Okay, macular denser cells will be on the distal convoluted tubule. Please note the error in the atlas, okay, photo atlas. What's labeled there, the item is actually on the afferent arteriole, and the on the afferent arteriole you have the granular cells. Granular cells are modified smooth muscle cells. Okay, so these ones that are outside of the afferent arteriole would be referred to as the extraglomerular mesangial cells. Okay, so when the solute level drops on the way out, this is just about the last place that you can retrieve it, or any of it, because once it gets past this point, it's going to the collecting tubule, and collecting tubule, it's basically urine on its way out. So the macular denser cells here would send chemicals that would be targeting the granular cells that's in here, okay? And the mesangial cells are the ones that would modulate the transmission of those chemicals. And once it gets here, granular cells will be releasing the renin, okay? And that starts the renin-angiotensin process. Ultimately, that raises your blood pressure. So, proximal convoluted tubules, distal convoluted tubules, this is collecting duct. Okay, so make sure you get to know all these.